Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the next session here, and it's a special address. I would like to call upon Dr. Ayoub Kazim, Managing Director of Dubai International Academic City and Dubai Knowledge Village. A big round of applause to Dr. Kazim. He's going to talk about why Dubai.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in any event or conference, I would say the two most difficult sessions would be before and after lunch. And I wish I could be a Bollywood star so I can sing and dance. I can neither sing nor dance, but I'll try to entertain you as much as possible with presenting some facts and figures. Now, I represent Dubai, where is it? I represent Dubai Knowledge Village and Dubai International Academic City. They are both members of TCOM Investment, or TCOM Group now, part of Dubai Holding, one of the commercial arms in Dubai, one of the empires in Dubai. We are involved with the internationalization of higher education as well as learning and development. We have 25 or 24 academic partners, and I was very glad to hear from Professor Ammar Kaka from Heriot University, who is, of course, representing one of our academic partners in Academic City. We have 24 academic institutions. 21 of them are considered to be IBCs, International Branch Campuses. And these branch campuses, they come in from 4 different continents, namely Australia, Asia, Europe, and then the United States or North America. Now, the setup that we have is quite unique in nature, where we started almost 12 years ago in Dubai Knowledge Village, where we attract universities from different continents or different countries, where you have a university from, say, Australia as a next-door neighbor from UK. Now, they are 20 hours apart from each other, but now they are co-located in an education ecosystem where they can have student mobility, faculty exchange, how about that? Where the faculty can teach the same course in another university under different curriculum, or I would say educational system, that would lead to program enhancement, or I would say the development, program development. On top of that, we talk about research collaboration, staff exchange, you name it. Quite few activities that could be carried out between these academic institutions. The model is simple, the way you see it, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy when it comes to licensing, registering these institutions, and also going through the, I would say, the UCAPE, which is established by Knowledge and Human Development Authority for quality assurance purposes. Now, as Dr. Ammar Kaka, he briefly pointed out that in Dubai alone, we have quite few international branch campuses. Well, in the UAE in general, we have around 110 academic institutions. And in Dubai alone, we have 57 academic institutions. 57 academic institutions, 25 of them are international branch campuses. 21 of them are operating under our umbrella. And the UAE last year, and even for this year, they have allocated around a quarter of its budget towards education, whether it's from K-12 or tertiary education, or maybe could be on learning and development, on training. So it is quite important here now, and it is gaining that importance. The country is gaining that importance, being an education destination in this region, through, of course, having this kind of multinational providers offering programs, well-diverse programs intended to serve the local and the regional markets. Now, as I would like to mention here, or elaborate further on what Professor Ammar has indicated, in the country, we have 40 international branch campuses out of 220 IBCs in the world. That makes us to have the largest number of international academic providers in the country. And of course, these academic institutions, again, they're not serving the local market only, they're serving the local and the regional markets. Now, this concept of the IBC started almost 15, I would say 15, almost 20 years. And our first international branch campus where we had here in the country was University of Wollongong. They had a very small setup on the Dubai Sharjah road. On the first year, they were serving 12 students, only 12. University of Wollongong, university, of course, this university, I would say the architect behind establishing this branch campus in Dubai, Jim Langridge, he brought this school, he had a vision for this school. And it was right after the Gulf War. So for us, it was something new, where a university coming from somewhere in Australia, we didn't know, well, we knew where Australia is, but we said, okay, a university with a funny name, but a great school. They came in on the first year with 12 students. Now they have around 4,000 students, and they are considered to be one of our strategic partners in TCOM. Not only that, they have established great relationships and partnerships with government and private institutions locally and regionally. And majority of their alumni also, they're assuming major or prominent positions in the country. So they have really made it. But not only that, they started to promote education in Australia. Education in Australia. With the help of IDP, they start to promote education in Australia. And it is considered to be now one of the top 5 destinations for the students in this region to go to Australia. So this is from a country that we did not hear 20 years, or I would say university. We didn't know much about it 20 years ago. Now, going forward, I would say, you know, there are quite a few advantages of setting up here in Dubai. Just mentioning here quite a few of them, of these benefits associated of establishing a branch campus here in Dubai. When it comes, not only Dubai, but also in the UAE, I would say in general. When it comes to employment opportunities, cost of living in comparison to major cities in the world, you pick these major cities, New York, Milan, London, Paris, Melbourne, Singapore. They always compare us with Singapore, so that's another area. So from our end, it is quite attractive location. And also when it comes to accessibility, within 8 hours, we could reach to 2/3 of world's population. 2/3. That's very important. It's always about location. Always about location. And then you have these free zones, over 30 free zones dedicated to serve the local and the national economies with the benefits associated with these free zones. So basically, Dubai Knowledge Village and Dubai International Academic City are both considered to be free zones. Dubai Knowledge Village, till now, is considered to be the only free zone dedicated to human capital development. The only free zone, with the training institutes and professional development centers. You have management consultancy firms, as well as academic providers offering executive type of programs. Then you have Dubai International Academic City, where we are considered now to be the second. Well, we used to be the only free zone. There is another free zone now been opened in Incheon, Korea, in South Korea, in Seoul. And we were very impressed with the setup that they have over there in Incheon Economic Zone. We shared the model that we have here that was like 7 years ago. And I was very glad the last time I went there and I saw the setup that they have in Seoul. So again, it's good to share the best practices. But for me, I always like to see what will be the next practice. It is always good to share that, but the next practice, that's what counts for us. And again, you know, in TCOM, we have around 5,000 academic partners. Could be business and academic partners. So this is where we have in different sectors, serving different sectors from ICT, media, education, life science, and biotechnology. Now, this is just to elaborate on my point with regards to the living standard in Dubai in comparison to these major cities. Major cities such as I said, Milan, London, Paris, Melbourne, among other cities. Still quite attractive location. Attractive location to, to start your business as well as to live. But also with an MBO crime index, we are considered to be the eighth safest country in the world. This is the 2015 figure. I'm not sure about the 2016, but still, we have been enjoying, of course, having that kind of safety and security here in this region. This all because of the visionary leaders that we have here in this country. Now, when it comes to transnational students, more than a year ago, around 5 million students, they traveled abroad to pursue their studies. 5 million, in comparison to around 2 million in the year 2000. So we're talking about a growth of 150%. 150%, huge growth. And according to the UNESCO report published a year ago, more than a year ago, with regards to students, when it comes to these transnational students or student mobility, well, over 50% of these students are from Asian countries. India, China, Taiwan, Korea, and other countries. In GCC, we have, of course, the biggest, where you have this country that has the largest number of the transnational students would be Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Now, with regards to these top 4 academic, or I would say destinations that we always talk about, these top 4 destinations, or group of 4, the US, UK, Canada, and Australia, somehow they have been losing the momentum in the past few years. This is not from me. This is according to the QS, Guacarelli and Simmons. And if we look at the UAE, in the 6-7 years ago, only 2% of those students who were surveyed indicated that they might consider going to the UAE to pursue their studies. That percentage has changed to around 10%. Doing the same survey, carrying out the same survey in 2014. So again, within 3-4 years time frame, things have changed and developed. Of course, we're talking about emergence of new destinations, And according to the study that we carried out a couple of years ago with Deloitte, where we surveyed 17 countries from South Korea all the way to Morocco, we included Nigeria and Russia, we found out that the UAE is considered to be the 4th most sought after destinations in the world. So this is not from me, it's according to the study that we did in collaboration with Deloitte and with YouGov. Now, what is the main purpose of having that kind of importance and prominence, gaining that prominence? Of course, I have already indicated that the UAE is considered to be one of the safest countries. We have a huge mix of these academic providers where they come in from different countries, where the student will have that choice, will have more choice, which program to select, to which school to go to. So this is one of the areas, of course, beside that, the visa, employment opportunities that are existing here, that is, of course, with the economic growth rate of around 4% in comparison to the world economic growth rate of maybe 3% right now. So doing far better than many developed countries, I would say. And also, we should not forget the advanced infrastructure that we have here. Advanced infrastructure that would surpass many developed countries. Now, this is in case of, if you'd like to know about whom are we attracting, or our providers, academic providers are attracting. If you look into this graph, you'll find out, of course, if we can classify students according to the academic preparation and preparedness and the financial resources. We can categorize them into 4 key areas or classifications. The first one will be those who are on the low academic preparedness and the financial resources. They called strugglers. They travel abroad for the sake of employment only. for the sake of employment. So they go there for the immigration purposes. And we do not target that. And our partners do not target that. However, when it comes to those who are considered to be high achievers, when it comes to the academics, but low on the financial resources, they are considered to be strivers. They are called strivers. And usually our academic providers, they target them. And we always seek to target these students because they will be the future leaders in their organizations or in their countries, even respective countries. Then those who are on the low academic preparedness, but when it comes to financial resources, high, they travel abroad to gain that experience. So Dubai and the UAE will be a great location of a choice for them to gain that experience and exposure, international exposure, where they can take that experience with them wherever they go, Then, so we target them. Then you have the high flyers, they know where they're going, so we don't touch them. We don't even touch them because you cannot convince them otherwise. And they are considered to be the 5% of the total transnational students. So when it comes to explorers and strivers, we are talking about somewhere between 65 to 70% of the total transnational students in the world. 65 to 70%, which is not bad. So we target these two segments here now, on the strivers and the explorers. Now, I did a presentation just focusing on selecting the right university, and I don't want to, we have to act neutral. We have 25 academic providers are operating under our umbrella, so we have to be neutral. But this is like I wanted to send a message to the students, and I have already shared that to the students, and even when it comes to the student recruitment agencies to select the right university and which university they should consider. There are some of the criteria that are there, for the students to explore, focusing on the academic infrastructure and the facilities could be one of the criteria. Then you have history and performance of this academic institution, reputation, and ranking if it's available. But not only that, in terms of the partnership this school would have with the industries and government departments, this is considered to be also important when it comes to having internship programs, research and development, but also in the future could be for employment purposes, future employment purposes. Then you have the location, and of course, it's always important, the university, it has to be easily accessible from different parts of the country. For example, the academic city, where it is fed by 4 key highways, and it can be reached by anyone, anywhere in the country within an hour and a half to maximum 2 hours, even if you are in the western region of Abu Dhabi. So, which is good in terms of the accessibility, you could reach there easily. So I'm just giving you an example here. So you can depict the same model maybe elsewhere, another country or so. Then, of course, selecting the right university that will embrace national diversity. This is important. But not only that, but also would entice the students to think outside the box. This is, these things, would know them once you read more about the achievements of these students, what they have achieved, what they have done during their study years in the school. So these are some of the areas that we could, that gives us direction, which university and which program maybe to select. Selecting the program by itself is another area that we need to look at, like we need to look for the future job market. And this is, of course, in Dubai and the UAE, there are quite few areas that we could tap into here. A year and a half ago, the government in the UAE have launched this National Innovation Agenda, and they have indicated the 7 priorities, the 7 key priority areas that the government will start funding these sectors. These sectors are namely education, healthcare, renewable energy, water resources, transport and logistics, space. Again, space. And then you have the technology. So I'm saying it space, but it is there. It is considered to be one of the key areas as well, one of the 7 priorities. Beside the 7 priorities, as you are aware of, with the Dubai Expo is going to be held in I would say 4 years from now, and it's going to be an exciting event for us. And in terms of the job creation, will be around the 300,000 jobs will be created. Over 300,000 jobs will be created, especially in the area of tourism and hospitality. Tourism and hospitality sector is a major sector that is now contributing significantly to the economy of Dubai and in the country. Dubai is around 30% of our GDP. But also a misperception of Dubai that we have oil and gas. No, we don't have much. We have, in terms of the contribution, they make up only 4% in our GDP, in local GDP. Then, of course, with the Expo 2020, then we have other areas such as, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, ruler of Dubai, have launched or had set a vision for Dubai to be playing the role of global capital and Islamic economy. This is an $8 trillion economy. $8 trillion economy, and we are going to tap into that. And he didn't just say that haphazardly. He knew that we have all the ingredients here to fulfill that vision. Now, believe it or not, we are now the third in the world when it comes to Islamic finance. After the UK, then you have Malaysia. Third comes in Dubai. And Islamic Sukuk, we are number 1 in the world right now. So again, moving very closely in this area. But what's important when it comes to fulfilling that vision is to develop human capital to support this vision, to contribute into this sector, sectors that are going to eventually fulfill that vision. So it is important. And of course, we work very closely with our academic providers in these types of initiatives that are undertaken by either us or by the government in order for them to look into areas where they could offer their programs. Another area, smart city. This is an area that we have seen is moving rapidly, and many government departments have already launched quite few initiatives, are really mind-blowing initiatives, I would say. I just give you an example. I attended since I talked about the Expo, Dubai Expo, I went to Milan to attend that event, Expo Milan, last year. And I was waiting in the queue for more than 2 hours. 2 hours in the queue just to reach that passport control. Now here, I would ask those who have just came from other parts of the world, came into Dubai, what is the maximum period that you have waited there? 15 minutes? I'm not sure, 15, 20 minutes? But now also, the DNRD, or government department, are looking into having this kind of a gate where a passenger, any visitor will come in, will go through that gate. Doesn't need to have his passport stamped. Just imagine how things are moving. And hopefully this will be implemented in Expo 2020. So this is part of the initiatives they're thinking. And this is great. This is one thing we need. And I was quite disappointed, I'm sorry. Anyone Italian here? So I don't want to offend Italians, but 2 hours waiting in the line, so it was quite difficult, I would say. So we want to see how things been done over there. They did a great job in organizing that event in Milan, but I'm sure we can do better than them. I'm positive that we can do better than them. Now, with regards to smart city, this is where we are also working very closely with the government departments and academic providers in offering such programs. We have British University in Dubai. They start to offer some programs in ICT, leading to PhD in computer, and also part of the project management. So again, we're working with our academic providers to support this vision. These are the 7 sectors that I've already highlighted before, the 7 areas of the National Innovation Agenda. 7 areas. And again, these areas where we're going to have around more than 100 initiatives are intended to support these sectors, important sectors, I would say, important sectors. And this is, in terms of the funding, now the government is going to allocate around 300 billion dirhams to support these sectors, 300 billion, and you have the breakdown of this amount, this huge amount, 300 billion. 2/3 of that amount will be dedicated towards the clean technology and renewables, renewable energy. Major and ambitious projects that are already been launched in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi as well as in Dubai. We did this part of the study we did with Deloitte, looking to the skill gaps in the region. There we have identified 64 skill gaps. 64 skill gaps, excuse me, across 12 sectors. 12 sectors. And these sectors are mentioned here. We did that and we shared that with the academics, the public, as well as the media. And this is what's important about this is that the academic providers would know what are the gaps are there, so they would start looking to their offerings, Now, I closely monitor this, the world competitiveness. I always do that. And this year we have been ranked 16th in the world. And as our economy is transitioning from the efficiency-driven economy to an innovation-led economy. The only one country that is considered to be in that category in the Middle East is Qatar. And we are moving in that direction anyway. So when you look at, of course, when it comes to the competitiveness, it is based on 12 key pillars. These pillars are already mentioned here in this slide. You have institutions, infrastructure, macroeconomic environment, higher education. Innovation will be another area, market, labor market, as well as other areas, and of course, business sophistication among other pillars. Now, the outer deformed circle, that is representing the UAE, and the inner deformed circle represents the Middle East, the average Middle East. So we are doing much, much better than what's going on in our region. Still, we have a long way to go. Still, we have a long way to go. Two areas I'm going to be focusing on here when it comes to the competitiveness. One is on the higher education side. We are ranked 37th in the world. And these pillars are, of course, they consist of various sub-criteria. They are shown here. We have been positioned quite well, and when it comes to internet accessibility, we are 9th in the world on internet accessibility. And as well as when it comes to quality of math and science, which is fairly good, 11th in the world, 12th in quality of education system, as well as the staff training. So some of these areas we have been positioned quite well. Still, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. And when it comes to innovation, we are ranked 26th in the world. And these are what you see here on the slide, the sub-criteria, the capacity for innovation, which is the ability or capability of the nation to produce and commercialize innovative flow of innovative technologies on a long term. So we have been ranked 28th. Still, we have some efforts. We have to exert some more efforts in this area. Quality of scientific research institutions, and I have to say that majority of the institutions in the country, they focus much more on the teaching than on the research. With our few exceptions, of course, there are few exceptions. But this is an area that we need to really exert more effort in, and we need to entice our academic providers to focus on the research as well. There should be some equal balance between the two, the teaching and the research. Company spending, that's really on the private sector. The government is doing its part and more. We need to see more from the private sector to chip in, at least to give something back to the community. Let's see, let's face it. Here, where you have a tax-free environment, and these multinational companies, they are enjoying tax-free environment with the advanced infrastructure. And so this is something they should consider. And I have seen major organizations and companies, they close down their operations in many parts of the world, but they keep their operation here in Dubai. Okay, so again, this is an area where major private sectors should consider, especially the multinationals, look into development when it comes to human development, human and social development in the country, to give something back to the country. Then university-industry collaboration, 22nd. We have quite a few initiatives intended to bring our academic partners with the industries through various initiatives. We have an event called Breakfast Club, and also we have I-UP. I guess anything with I works very well these days. So I-UP, which stands for Industry University Partnership Forum. And the last one we had it was in December, in the month of December. We're going to continue doing that this year and the following years. We're going to have 3 I-UPs this year. The next I-UP, I think the first one will be in May, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. May, yes, it's going to be May, our next I-UP event intended to bring the industries and the academia closer on one single platform, and also bringing some government departments as well. Bringing some other government departments as well. It is important to do that. Now, when it comes to government procurement for advanced high-tech products, we are second in the world. But that should be translated into the right outcomes. Yes or no? You're spending so much. What is the outcome? What is the outcome? And this is an area that we need to look at very carefully. So, talking about the value for money, this is where we need to look at in terms of research, publications, patents, and so on. Availability of the scientists and engineers, seventh in the world, which is normal. We can attract the talent here and retain them. In fact, according to the same report of the Global Competitiveness, which is considered to be the flagship of World Economic Forum, the UAE, we were ranked 3rd and 6th in the world when it comes to talent attraction and retention. 3rd and 6th in the world. Then you have of course, the patents, population in millions. Of course, that is said to be with a percentage here, with a percentage. So this is where we face some of the areas challenges that we face, and also some of the areas that we need to focus on in the coming few years. And the aim of the government is to be in top 10 in the coming 5 years. And I think we will achieve that, inshallah. You know, we are 16th in the world right now. Inshallah, we'll be there within 5 years down the road. Now, when I, of course, mentioned the innovation, then I have to mention our initiative here, TCOM. We have launched the Innovation Hub 18 months ago. And this is like a zone dedicated to at least serve the entrepreneurs and also to nurture this sector, entrepreneurship and SME sector. And we are going to spend around 4.5 billion dirhams over the course of 10 years from now till 2025. So we are going to build infrastructure. We already started now building the infrastructure. We are going to have these facilities around 1.6 million square foot dedicated to serve those, I would call them the innovators or creative workers. Beside that, we have a creative community in Dubai Design District, which is a zone close to Dubai Mall, intended to serve the emerging designers and artists. So this is part of what we are doing, and I'm not sure if you have watched the Drones for Good. I don't know if we are considered to be a major partner with the PMO office. We work very closely with them, and this is one of the initiatives, of course, undertaken by the PMO office, but we are the key contributor, I would say, sponsor for this event, Drones for Good, which is intended to serve for humanitarian purposes, okay? And also there is Robotics for Good. We are also a partner in that initiative as well. This is the breakdown of the amount that we are going to spend on the innovation when it comes to Innovation Hub, and also allocating a certain fund, 150 million dirhams, to serve these innovative initiatives, and also for the entrepreneurs. 600 on major awards on initiative and projects, major innovative projects. So in terms of the business partners, we have around 5,000 business partners across TCOM. The aim is to reach to 10,000 within 10 years down the road. And in terms of the knowledge workers, we have 75,000 knowledge workers. The aim is to reach 200,000 knowledge workers in TCOM. Now, with this, this is going to be my last slide. What does it take for us to join the Big Four? Nothing is impossible. So here you have it here now, establishment of research center. Research is very important. It's the key for us to develop. It's the key to develop. And for the first time, the government has set a certain percentage of its GDP towards research, which I think is a great step in the right direction. And I always say that development of a nation is measured by the amount of fund from its GDP funding these types of R&D projects. So always we need to look into that. And the usual threshold when it comes to the research, the funding, major countries and developed countries, they allocate somewhere between 2 to 5%. There are some few exceptions, but this is the norm, I would say, 2 to 5%. So research centers, already we have quite a few of them, but we need more, and also engaging with the academics and industries, being close with the industries as well. Educational tourism, this is quite interesting when you talk about the transnational students, and this is an area where we should focus on. We talk about we have the healthcare tourism, but also there is educational tourism for at least developing the skills of those who would like to be in this environment that we have here. Providing employment opportunities, and of course, according to bid.com, the UAE is still considered to be a good platform, or I would say location, for when it comes to recruitment. And it is considered to be one of the most active countries in the Middle East right now when it comes to recruitment. According to bid.com, one of our partners in Dubai Internet City. Then ensuring the ease of visa. Student visas, this is another area we need to look at. Last month, or I would say 2 months ago, the government has passed the law of this work part-time policy, which is great for the students, where they could work while they are studying on a part-time basis, a step in the right direction. Establishment of partnerships between the industry and academia. I mean, right now where we see they're operating in silos, and we want to bring them together through various initiatives and events that we sometimes organize. Vocational education, I didn't talk about the vocational education, but it is quite important. You know, the world average is around 10%. Germany, 60% of the students, they engage into the vocational education. And again, university education or tertiary education is not suited for everyone. There must be some kind of alternative. We are changing that perception now. The perception is always now looking into that vocational education to be inferior to the conventional education or conventional tertiary education. Again, the government is supporting many industries and also academic institutions to offer these types of programs. And we have Applied Institute of Technology, which is an initiative of Government of Abu Dhabi. Great steps that they have taken. And they have now campuses in 8 campuses, if I'm not mistaken, in the country to serve this important area. And of course, providing safe and secure environment. And according to the NAMBIO Crime Index, again, this is considered to be quite attractive location here to start your business or have your business, as well as to live in this city and in this country. With this, I will conclude my presentation. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Sure.
Or comments?
Sure.
Yeah?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions, comments, ideas, thoughts? You could pass on the mic.
You're thinking about the lunch.
Yeah.
Well, what I've heard is quite impressive because it was made clear through statistics and other figures, and we could, understand it better how Dubai is growing in terms of education and human development.
Yes.
I was just wondering if it's possible for us to have access to your presentation?
I will share it, of course. I'll give it to the organizers. They can do that, I guess. Yes.
Okay.
We'll be more than glad to do that.
Thank you.
For me, it's always, we share our best practice,
Thank
but I always look for the next practice. We did it with the Koreans 7 years
Was
ago. And
Dr.
it really,
Watson
it was, hello? Yes, yes, let me just finish this one. We started with the Koreans 7 years ago. We had received many delegations from everywhere in the world. Even countries, I'm sorry to say that, Bhutan, I didn't know on the map where it is, but yeah, there is a country called Bhutan. I'm sorry, no offense. So, you know, we share our model. You know, it's not secret. There is no secret, you know, behind this. We share our model and would like to see that model to be emulated elsewhere. Would like to see the others doing the same. That's what really led us to work with the government departments like Malta, where we have a smart city in Malta, and also in India with the government of Kerala, we have the smart city in Cochin. I think the launch will be next week, if I'm not mistaken, 20th of February. So again, we share that with the others, working with closely with the government departments and other entities.
Dr. Kazim, thank you for the inspiring, insights. Always, whenever we see you, you definitely, invoke a lot of excitement. This is about the gap between the school education and the tertiary education readiness. How the KHD and your department is going to bridge this gap, and when you're going to align them so that there's a continuity and the flow.
It is not my role here, but it is everyone's role, I would say. All the entities here now. The role will be the responsibility of the academic provider. There is a gap. We all acknowledge there is a gap between those who are graduating from high schools going to the tertiary education. By the same token, there is a major gap of those who are leaving the higher education and joining the industries. They are not meeting the expectations set by the industries. So our role is to at least look into these gaps. What are the major issues? And we work closely with the authorities. That authority would be Knowledge and Human Development Authority because they oversee all the schools in Dubai here, private schools in Dubai. We are not responsible for schools here in Dubai, but we usually work with them in this regard. So, of course, the gaps are there, but it's not going to be our role here. It's mainly the role of the authority.
Thank you for sharing a wonderful vision, and especially in terms of the quality and enforcement. You had touched very, very slightly upon the vocationalization of our courses. Especially, I see one gap all over the world is the higher secondary education, the upper secondary, the link between the school and the university. So any concrete plans that have been put in? Maybe I'm just repeating the same.
Yes, very good point. You know, I didn't, I just mentioned briefly about the vocational education. This is a major challenge that we face here, the local perception towards this area, vocational education. And the students always wonder, you want me to study for 2 years or 3 years to be a plumber, to be an electrician, a mechanic? So that perception is changing, and of course working closely with the government authorities. Now, KSJ, they have an initiative called KNIVE, offering various programs in vocational education, mainly on soft programs. But Applied Institute of Technology, they're offering great programs, and they have forged partnerships with the South Korean Nuclear Agency, with NASA in the US, among other organizations. So where the students have an opportunity to go there and work for a brief period of time and learn more of what's going on. And this is really, it sheds some light, and also they start to encourage the students to engage much more into this area. As I said, the world average is 10%, and the country is around now 3–4% when it comes to those who are enrolled in the vocational education. We want to surpass that world average, at least. Germany, I gave an example of Germany, 60% students engage into or enroll in the vocational.
Also Scandinavia.
Yes, Australia is another one, TAFE. They have great programs in TAFE, same thing. So this is something that we'd like to at least entice our students to engage in. Yes. Sorry. Yes.
So, is there any plans for UAE to partner with Soft Skill Program of India? Because a lot of employment is generated by Indian men in UAE.
Yes.
So it can be a good help to promote the soft skill program in India vis-a-vis UAE.
I agree with you, and this is something that we need to look at. Again, having strong relationship with India for 100 years, I would say. Even the I would say, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, is going to visit India in a couple of days from now. We have great relation with India. This is something we always look into. And of course, we share, our vision with the government of India. And basically, and I gave you an example of that smart city initiative, working with the government. We didn't work with the private sector in this regard. So we worked with the government in order to at least bring what we have here to make it the same thing, emulate the same model we have here in Kuchen, in Kerala. So this is something we always look into, but also we learn a lot from the, of course, from India, as well as the human capital that you have there in serving here in our local economies. We have academic providers here based in Dubai. Four of our partners, used to be five, four of our partners are from India. They're offering great programs, not only serving the local market, they're serving the region. And I've been seeing their facilities like Manipal University, BITS Plani. They have facilities that really mind-blowing facilities. They are where they bring their researchers from everywhere. They come in and work and use the facilities, but also to at least bring the industries on board as well. Again, this is something we always look into because we are not only here, these academic providers are not only here to serve the Indian population, no. They're serving everyone in this region. I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Professor Vajpayee, M.K. Vajpayee. Already I have spoken.
Yes.
See, my question is that, but this is my request. Basically, we are working in India from the very remote area, already explained. We are working very differently from others.
Yes.
So, because our idea, our vision is basically the online examination system and differently working to all areas of the globe. So we would like to be connected here in Dubai. And we have some innovative idea and where we can work together. So in this line, to whom we should contact and how we should get involved in the innovative research? That's my.
We represent a commercial arm of higher education sector in Dubai. The licensing authority is a Knowledge and Human Development Authority. So any university or academic institution would like to offer their programs or have a setup, they should contact Knowledge and Human Development Authority. If you don't have their contacts, we'll be more than glad to forward your contacts to them.
Thank you.
Yes. They are the licensing authorities. They are the licensing authority for universities, K-12, private K-12, as well as training institutes.
Hi, sir. I hope I don't offend any of the UAE regulations. My question is pretty simple. We have in Abu Dhabi Education Council.
Mm-hmm.
We have in Dubai the Knowledge and Human Development Authority. But we also have 5 other emirates in UAE. Now my question is, the quality of education or the standard of education in the other emirates, whether be it in the school education or be it in the higher education, I don't think it is the same as what we see in Abu Dhabi or in Dubai. So Ministry of Education, is there a vision from the UAE as a country as a whole? Is there a vision that, okay, by so-and-so year or within so-and-so time frame, that a child who goes to a school in probably Ajman or Ras Al Khaimah can be, the output of the student would be the same, or at least in the range of, in a particular range, that a student is actually coming out from Abu Dhabi or from Dubai school?
I'm not representing a government authority here.
Right, sir.
I
No
mean,
problem.
This
but
question should be directed to Abdullah Karam. I think he was here yesterday. And again, from our end, what we see here, let me just share with you this piece of information. There is a national authority called National Qualification Authority. I'm not sure if you are aware of. Now they are going to be responsible for all the certification, degrees and certifications offered by these institutions in the country, regardless whether it's in Fujairah, Ras Al Khaimah, or anywhere else. And they will try to unify them. There are 10 classifications when it comes to recognizing the degrees and the certifications. And this is, of course, they're working closely with the education councils in each and every emirate. Education councils. Our education council here in Dubai is called Knowledge and Human Development Authority. So they're working closely with the other education councils. So this is unified across the country. Now, National Qualification Authority, it was established more than 2 years ago, I think now. So it's been recent. And I have seen quite a few initiatives from their end, and they start to recognize these international degrees, which is quite good. And this is maybe the step, towards ultimately reaching to that point of, having that general recognition on a national level. But really, I'm not representing a government authority here, so this should be the Education Council. Okay. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah, here in Dubai, we have UCAPE, University Quality Assurance. Anyone from KHDA? No, but no one here. UCAPE. And of course, they look into the quality. They do that exercise quality assurance, having the board. This board changes, I guess, every 4 years or 5 years. They come in from different parts of the world. I had an opportunity to meet one time, because they bring them from different parts of the world, to meet with them in one room a few years ago. And they come in from different educational system. I remember 2 of them were from the US, 2 from UK, 1 from South Africa, 1 from India, 1 from Australia, 1 from New Zealand, 1 from Saudi Arabia, so quite diverse. So at least they oversee all the programs that are offered by the tertiary providers, academic providers here in the free zones. Okay, any other questions? I think it's time for biryani now. Don't you think so? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Before you move off the stage, sir, I would request you to kindly join us back on the stage. And if you have more questions, you can actually ask Dr. Kazim later as well after the session. And we would like to present you a small token of appreciation for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Ayoub Kazim, Managing Director of Dubai International Academic City and Dubai Knowledge Village. Thank you very much.